I'm really glad you're here today, because what we're about to talk about might completely change the way you look at productivity, success, and even your own self-worth. We live in a world that glorifies busyness. From the moment we wake up, there's this invisible pressure pushing us to move, to respond, to produce, to achieve. Notifications light up our phones before our eyes are fully open. Social media shows us people launching businesses, building six-pack abs, traveling the world, and somehow doing it all before 9 a.m. Hustle culture tells us that if we're not exhausted, we're not trying hard enough. And somewhere along the way, we started believing that doing nothing is lazy, unambitious, or even irresponsible. But what if that belief is completely wrong? What if doing nothing, real, intentional stillness, is not only valuable, but one of the most productive things you can do? When I say doing nothing, I don't mean procrastinating out of fear. I don't mean avoiding responsibilities or escaping your life. I mean choosing moments of stillness on purpose. I mean sitting quietly without reaching for your phone. I mean staring at the ceiling and letting your thoughts drift without trying to control them. I mean walking without headphones, without podcasts, without input. Just you and the present moment. That kind of nothing. It feels uncomfortable at first because we are so addicted to stimulation. Silence feels loud, stillness feels strange, but that discomfort is exactly why it matters. Your brain is not designed to be constantly engaged. Neuroscientists talk about something called the default mode network, which activates when your mind is at rest. This is the network associated with creativity, self-reflection, and long-term planning. In other words, when you're doing nothing, your brain is actually doing some of its most important work. Think about your best ideas. They rarely come when you're forcing them at your desk, staring at a screen. They come in the shower. They come during a quiet drive. They come right before you fall asleep. That's not random. That's your mind finally having space to breathe. Stillness allows your thoughts to connect in ways they can't when you're constantly reacting to external input. We mistake visible activity for productivity because it looks impressive. Typing, talking, moving, checking tasks off a list feels tangible. But invisible processing is just as important. A field left fallow isn't wasted, it's restoring nutrients. Muscles don't grow during the workout, they grow during rest. Even your phone needs to recharge. Yet somehow, we expect ourselves to run endlessly without pause. When you never allow yourself to stop, your thinking becomes shallow. You operate in reaction mode instead of creation mode. You respond instead of reflect. You move fast, but not necessarily in the right direction. Doing nothing gives you the space to ask bigger questions. Why am I chasing this goal? Is this path actually aligned with who I am? Am I busy because I'm passionate or because I'm afraid to sit with my own thoughts? That last question is uncomfortable, but it's powerful. Many people stay busy to avoid facing themselves. Silence removes distractions, and when distractions disappear, you're left with your inner world. That can feel scary if you're not used to it, but growth begins there. Stillness is like holding up a mirror to your mind. You start noticing patterns. You notice how often you criticize yourself. You notice the stories you replay. You notice the dreams you quietly push aside. Without stillness, those insights stay buried under noise. And here's the paradox. The more you allow yourself to do nothing, the more intentional your actions become. Instead of scattering your energy across dozens of random tasks, you start focusing on what truly matters. You begin to distinguish between urgency and importance. You realize that not every email deserves immediate attention, not every opportunity deserves a yes, and not every opinion deserves your energy. Stillness sharpens your priorities. It's like cleaning a foggy window. The world doesn't change, but your clarity does. There's also a deep emotional benefit to doing nothing. Constant busyness keeps your nervous system in a low-grade state of stress. Even if you don't feel panicked, your body is always slightly on edge. Cortisol levels stay elevated, your mind jumps from one thing to the next. Over time, that drains you. Intentional stillness signals safety to your body. It tells your nervous system that you are not in danger, that you can relax. Your breathing slows, your heart rate steadies, and when your body feels safe, your thinking becomes clearer and more creative. Many high performers understand this, even if they don't call it doing nothing. They schedule thinking time. They take long walks without devices. They protect white space on their calendars. That white space isn't wasted, it's strategic. It's in those gaps that breakthroughs happen. If you look at artists, writers, entrepreneurs, and athletes, you'll often find a rhythm of intense action followed by deliberate rest. The problem is, we often copy the action part and ignore the rest part. We see the output, but not the quiet hours behind it. Doing nothing also rebuilds your attention span. In a world of constant scrolling, your ability to focus is under attack. Every notification trains your brain to crave novelty. When you sit in stillness, even for 5 minutes, you're retraining your mind to tolerate depth instead of distraction. At first, you'll feel restless. Your hand might automatically reach for your phone, thoughts will race. That's normal. Stay anyway. Over time, that restlessness fades, and what replaces it is a grounded sense of presence. And presence is powerful. When you're fully present, conversations become richer, work becomes more meaningful, even simple moments feel fuller. You start noticing small details you used to miss: the sound of wind, the way light hits a wall, the subtle shifts in your own emotions. Life slows down, but not in a boring way. It slows down in a vivid way. There's also a strategic advantage to doing nothing. When you're constantly acting, you risk compounding mistakes. Speed without reflection leads to burnout and regret. Pausing allows you to evaluate. It creates a gap between impulse and action. In that gap, you can choose wisely. Instead of reacting out of fear, ego, or pressure, you respond from clarity. And that difference changes everything. Think about how many conflicts escalate because no one paused. How many bad decisions happen because someone felt rushed. A few moments of stillness can prevent months of consequences. It's not weakness to pause, it's wisdom. Another reason doing nothing feels unproductive is because it doesn't give immediate visible results. Our brains love quick feedback. Check a box, get a dopamine hit. Post something, get likes. Complete a task, feel accomplished. Stillness doesn't provide that instant reward. Its benefits are subtle and cumulative, but over time, they compound. A person who regularly practices stillness becomes calmer under pressure, more creative in problem solving, more resilient in setbacks. They don't crumble as easily because they're not constantly running on empty. There's also a deep, empowering realization that you don't need constant input to feel okay. When you can sit alone with your thoughts and feel steady, you're no longer dependent on noise for comfort. That independence strengthens your confidence. You start trusting your own mind. You start valuing your own insights. You don't feel the need to constantly prove your productivity to others because you know your worth isn't measured by motion. Doing nothing also reconnects you to intuition. When your schedule is packed and your mind is overloaded, intuition gets drowned out. It speaks softly. You only hear it in quiet moments. That subtle sense of knowing, that quiet nudge towards a new direction, it becomes clearer when the noise fades. Many people say they don't know what they want in life, but often the truth is they've never given themselves enough silence to hear the answer. Stillness is not about abandoning ambition, it's about strengthening it. It's about making sure your ambition is rooted in alignment rather than anxiety. There's a huge difference between moving towards something because it excites you and moving because you're afraid of falling behind. Stillness helps you tell the difference. And here's something important. Doing nothing is a skill. It doesn't come naturally anymore because we've trained ourselves to avoid it. You have to practice. Start small. 2 minutes of sitting quietly, a short walk without your phone. lying on your bed and staring at the ceiling without background noise? Don't try to control your thoughts. Let them pass. Observe without judgment. Over time, increase the duration. You'll start noticing that your mind becomes less chaotic, your reactions become slower and more thoughtful, your energy becomes more stable. You may even find that you accomplish more in less time because your actions are sharper and more deliberate. There's also a deeper philosophical layer to this. When you're constantly doing, you tie your identity to output. You start believing you are only as valuable as your latest achievement. That's exhausting. Stillness reminds you that you exist beyond your roles and tasks. You are not just your job, your grades, your followers, or your productivity. You are a human being before you are a human doing. And that shift in identity reduces pressure. It creates space for self-compassion. It allows you to rest without guilt. Guilt-free rest is powerful because it restores you fully. If you're resting but mentally criticizing yourself for not working, you're not actually resting. You're just pausing your body while your mind keeps running. True stillness quiets both. It's intentional, it's aware, and it's deeply restorative. The next time you feel overwhelmed, instead of pushing harder, try stopping. Close your eyes, take a slow breath, let the urgency settle. Ask yourself what truly needs attention right now. Often, the answer will surprise you. Many things feel urgent but aren't essential. Stillness helps you see that clearly. And when you operate from clarity, your productivity becomes sustainable instead of frantic. The power of doing nothing lies in its contrast to the world around you. In a culture addicted to speed, choosing stillness is radical. It's an act of reclaiming your attention, your energy, and your inner space. It's choosing depth over noise, quality over quantity, meaning over motion.